For 7 seasons, LeBron James wore the colors of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then came the decision. And tonight comes the return. And moments ago, he took to the court in Cleveland.
Seven, the Comic Sans game. James's first game in Cleveland as a member of the Heat. Former hero. Cowardly. Self-titled former king. That's how Cavs owner Dan Gilbert described James in a letter addressed to all of Northeast Ohio. And Cavs fans, after James decided to take his talents to South Beach, joined friends Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and signed with Miami in the summer of 2010. Gilbert even promised the Cavs would win a championship before James. As you might expect, James was booed mercilessly the first time he returned to Cleveland in the opposition's uniform. That didn't stop him from dropping a cool 38 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds to lead the Heat to a 28-point win.
At that moment, it's nothing against James. It was just more of LeBron and with the situation that was going on.
6. The Deshaun Stevenson beef game. 2008 Eastern Conference First Round, Game 6. Frustration often leads to foolishness. A young James had escorted the Wizards out of the playoffs in 2006 and 2007. In a regular season game in March of 2008, James, with Stevenson guarding him, missed a three-pointer that would have lifted the Cavs to a victory, prompting Stevenson to say he was overrated. James compared him, addressing a slight from Stevenson to Jay-Z wasting his time, beefing with Soulja Boy. Instead, James sent the Wizards into the offseason with a triple-double, scoring 27 points while grabbing 13 rebounds and dishing out as many assists. And oh yeah, Jigga didn't find it beneath him some shots at Stevenson on a track called Blow the Whistle, which included lines such as, "Who the overrated, if anything, they underpaid him." He even performed it at the Washington, D.C. area nightclub where Caron Butler, Stevenson's teammate at the time, was present. 5. The Lance Stevenson blew in my ear game. 2014 Eastern Conference Semifinals, Game 6. The prior contest was the game that established Stevenson as an irritant of the highest order, aligning him with the likes of soccer goon Diego Costa. Plain and simple, the 6'5", 230-pound former New York City Hoops legend got to James in Game 5. Born Ready will most noticeably be remembered for blowing in James's ear during a dead ball, but he also helped hold James to a playoff-low 7 points on 2 for 10 shooting as the Pacers scathed off elimination after coming into the contest down 3-1 in the series. But James bounced back with his best shooting of the 2014 postseason. He shot 66.7% from the field, knocking down 8 of 12 shots to go along with 6 assists and 4 rebounds to lead the Heat to a 117-92 victory and advance to the NBA Finals. 4. The Skip Bayless game. 2012 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 6. James had everything to lose and everything to win 5 years ago. He departed Cleveland for Miami, where he was supported by all-star teammates, promised multiple championships, and came up short. With no championship ring, who cared how many signature playoff performances he put up? In the minds of many, namely ESPN's Skip Bayless, he would never be included in the same sentence with the likes of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. The odds were stacked against him, down 3-2 and set to face the Celtics, who had ousted his Cleveland squads from the postseason twice in their building. James was robotic all night, playing with a listless, cold expression on his face, barely acknowledging his teammates during breaks. He sank 6 of his first 7 shots and scored 14 in the first quarter before finishing with 45 points on 19 for 46 shootings, 73.1%, still his most accurate postseason outing, with many of his points coming on long jumpers. 3. LeBron finally gets revenge against the Celtics. The horn sounded and white towels fluttered in the air at American Airlines Arena, raining down with relief and elation and chaos, as Dwayne Wade leaped into the stands for a loose ball. The clock had run out on the Celtics' dominance of 2 of the game's biggest stars, and 30 feet away, LeBron James bent down on one knee and tapped the floor. A year's worth of failures, missteps, criticism, and downright hatred all came rushing back. Finally, for James, a triumph. Finally, a measure of vindication. Nearly a year to the day after the Celtics ran him out on the playoffs, ran him out of Cleveland, and into the embrace of Wade in Miami, James knelt victorious on the floor to savor a 97-87 victory over the Celtics, a 4-1 victory in the Eastern Conference semifinals over the team whose ruthlessness spawned this Miami Hurricane in the first place. Part of the reason we came together was them laying the blueprint, James said. They pushed us every second, every play, every minute out on the court. If we made a mistake, they made us pay for it. He ran it all back in his mind, there on the floor in a tidal wave of emotion, the mirror image of a wave that was washing over the Celtics. In the end, it was just as James had planned it. In a closeout game against the Celtics on his home floor, LeBron scored 33 points, including the final 10 points of the game by both teams. Wade, who'd come to the same realization that James did after getting knocked out by Boston last year, scored 34. LeBron and Wade totaled 102 field goals in the series, 51 each.
I don't know how the man feels, but obviously people have feelings, and people's feelings get hurt, even if they're called a bad word. I guess his feelings just got hurt.
What did you say Clay said?
Clay said, I guess he just got his feelings hurt.
The Laugh Game, 2016 NBA Finals, Game 5. Klay Thompson started it, James finished it. The Cavaliers trailed 3-1 in the 2016 NBA Finals against a Warriors team that included back-to-back MVP Stephen Curry and had won an NBA record 73 games during the regular season. With Game 5 coming up at Oracle Arena, a venue at which the Warriors had only lost 3 times all season, the writing was on the wall. In a pre-game news conference, Thompson, addressing an on-court spat between Golden State teammate Draymond Green and James, during which Green reportedly called James out, Thompson said, "It's a man's league. People have feelings, and people's feelings get hurt, even if they're called a bad word. I guess James's feelings just got hurt." Bill Livingston relayed Thompson's comments to James in a subsequent news conference. James gave 3 hearty laughs, all accompanied with a devilish grin. Once he gathered himself, James said, "It's so hard to take the high road. I've been doing it for 13 years. It's so hard to continue to do it, and I'ma do it again. At the end of the day, we gotta go out. We gotta show up and play better tomorrow night. And if we don't, then they're gonna be back-to-back champions, and that's it." James poured in 41 points in Game 5 and Game 6 as the Cavs evened the series. In Game 7, he totaled 27 points and finished with a triple-double to pull off one of the greatest upsets in the history of team sports. Guiding the Cleveland Cavaliers to the 2016 NBA championship over the Golden State Warriors was viewed by many as the crowning achievement of LeBron James's legendary career. That championship, the Cavaliers' first and the third in James's career, came against the record-breaking 73-9 Warriors. In that series, the Cavs overcame a 3-1 deficit and saw James score 41 points in Game 5, 41 points in Game 6, and a 27-11-11 triple-double in Game 7. He won another Finals MVP by averaging 29.7 points, 11.3 rebounds, and 8.9 assists in the series.
Cleveland! This is for you! Against all odds. Against all odds.
1. The LeBron James Washed King revenge season and proving everybody wrong. LeBron James is certainly no washed king. In the 2018-2019 series, Los Angeles Lakers superstar forward LeBron James missed the playoffs, and that hasn't happened in a very long time. In fact, LeBron missed the playoffs for the first time in 13 years. LeBron later said missing the playoffs is not what we signed up for, after the team was eliminated from postseason contention with a 111-106 loss to the Brooklyn Nets. The Lakers woke up for its Christmas Day clash with the Golden State Warriors as owners of a 19-14 record, which was tied for the 4th best mark in the Western Conference. James suffered a groin injury in that game and proceeded to miss 5 weeks of action. By the time he returned on January 31st, the Lakers were 26-25 and 2 games out of the final playoff spot in the West. They could never get back inside the top 8 and collapsed down the stretch. Heading into the 2019-2020 season, after a lot of criticism in the offseason, LeBron James began calling himself the Washed King, as a nod and direct response to unnamed critics who questioned whether James, 35, could remain one of the NBA superstars after spending his first season with the Lakers missing a combined 27 games because of a strained left groin and missing the playoffs his first year with the Lakers. In the 2019-2020 season, however, James finished the year with 25.3 points, 7.8 rebounds, 10.2 assists, 1.2 steals per game. While statistically speaking, it looks like a typical LeBron James stat line, one of LeBron's saving graces of this game is his amazing playmaking. James has surpassed even his points expectations while handling increased ball handling duties as a de facto point guard. And Fogel and Anthony Davis argue James has also provided intangible leadership that a box score cannot fully capture. Part of it is due to the emergence of younger superstars who are entering their prime, Giannis Antetokounmpo, or in the midst of their best years, Kawhi Leonard, while some of it has to do with perhaps father time catching up to him. The NBA did suspend the 2019-20 season back in March after Utah Jazz center Rudy Gobert tested positive for the novel coronavirus. Dozens of players have contracted the deadly virus since then. As a result, James and the Lakers haven't competed against another team in 4 months. The Lakers were playing some of the best basketball in the association before the pandemic shut down the season. As a matter of fact, the Lakers defeated the Milwaukee Bucks and Los Angeles Clippers the weekend prior to the announcement of the suspension. Both teams are considered serious title hopefuls along with the Lakers. The Lakers are the #1 seed in the Western Conference. The 35-year-old James has played a huge part in the Lakers' success this season. James is fixed on helping the Lakers attain a championship before they leave the NBA bubble in Orlando, Florida.